Me too.
Is that your arm, Shelley?
These are the heebie-jeebies.
As we get into it today, guys, I want to know that it's going to be fairly interactive. There may be a few rewards for interaction. Okay, so if you've got any questions along the way, probably at the end of each slide or whatever, the presenters might ask you great questions or need to clarify anything, so feel free to chirp up and ask your questions. I want you to walk away from today with a very simplified version of how you can make positive changes in your life. Okay? We've had seminars in the past and they've been very information dense. So we've tried to trim a lot of the bullshit out, or the unnecessary stuff out of this seminar today, so you can walk away with just a very clear and simple picture of what you need to do to make some positive changes. Okay? If you want to get more complex and more in-depth with evidence, we can certainly help you with that. But for now, for today, we just want to give you the base amount of information you need.
Bad enough.
The base amount of information you need to go away and start thinking about how you might start adapting your nutrition to achieve things. Okay? So, I think Claire references this later on as well. Is this yours, Sarah?
Yeah. Well, not mine, but I found it. Yes.
So, have a look at that. It just lays it out really simply, guys. So, the short, mid, and long-term investments. Okay. Short-term investment with food is going to be how you feel and perform. Okay. Mid-term is how you look, and long-term is basically stating your disease and decrepitude. Okay. So, if you frame food like that, it just puts it in a bit of a different light. So we often just think about this stuff here and maybe the mid-term investment. But if you think about food along the curriculum of life, so to speak, we want to be eating the best food we can so that later on in life we're not plagued with disease and others. So as I said in my live video the other night, we've got some free stuff that we're going to give away. So everyone who came today, Zach, we actually get who's here, so we can see it out.
Yep.
Everyone who came today is going to receive an ebook version of our 28-day clean eating program, which has a full meal plan, shopping list, etc., recipes, and all that kind of stuff. So everyone will get that electronically, and just as a bit of a incentive for people who bring value and ask great questions today, I'll give out 5 of these at the end of the class, at the end of the seminar to whoever we decide is going to get them. Okay, so if you want that, ask some good questions. You're going to get it anyway by ebook. It's designed to just be a really simple, clean eating meal plan that's easy to implement, great recipes, and yeah, just set you on the right path. So we've also got a few Instagram pages that you can follow. And if you want these, I'm going to take the slide away in a second. If you want these, just ask us later on. But these are some good Instagram pages that you can follow just to keep that sort of good flow of information coming on your Instagram feed. It's one of the methods I use to try and keep myself on track with anything in life, is to follow people that are reflecting the right amount of information or the right information that I need to stay on track and to keep getting those little daily reminders from these people. You generally find that you stay a little bit more motivated and on task. So definitely hit those up, and there's thousands more. I was going to put one up, but it's a little bit inappropriate for the general population. So if you want to know who that guy is, let me know. And I'll give you his Instagram handle. I couldn't put him up here. Alright, so I'm going to start off today.
What is it?
CrossFit. The benefit of CrossFit is CrossFit has not just been around for 20 years, but they've been writing content and theory and philosophy and textbooks and everything for the last 20 years. So in comparison to some other fitness programs around, CrossFit is backed up by a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of experience, and basically this, the proof is in the pudding with what we can achieve with the affiliates around the world. And one of the pieces of theory for CrossFit is this, the theoretical hierarchy of development. And you would have seen this flash up in the video from time to time, just to remind you guys of the order of things. But basically, if you take a look down the bottom, you'll see that nutrition forms the foundation of that pyramid. Okay? The one thing about nutrition that is different to all of these, okay, is that we don't really have any visibility of it in here, right? The nutrition part, even though it's the foundation and it's probably the most important part, or it is the most important part, it all happens out there. It's what you guys choose to do out there, okay? So we're going to give you the information you need to help make changes, okay? And if you need support and guidance, I know we can give it to you. Just realise that the nutrition part is almost entirely on you and what you choose to do outside of you. It is the most important part. It sets the foundation for everything else, okay? So we all know that you can't out-train a bad diet, and it stands true here. You won't achieve optimal results if your nutrition isn't on point, all right? And then on top of that, we've got metcon, gymnastics, weightlifting and throwing, and sport. Sport's probably the other thing that we don't really control, but as you can see, it's right at the top of the pyramid. And sport is really just there to test and prove our fitness. Okay, so that's what we're talking about when we talk about nutrition as a foundation. Now, we're all going to jump up and down at certain points during the seminar today, so I'm going to hand over now to Zach. He's going to go through the nitty-gritty, the theory of why, what CrossFit's prescription for nutrition is. All right, you go for it.
Is it appropriate to clap?
That's what said, thanks, Jason. Let's keep it interactive. So something's just like, just like, yeah, throw your hand up. And I'm excited because Tom's going to come up after me. He's going to talk more about science and numbers and get deep into that stuff. And the lady's going to come up as well, talking about more day-to-day stuff and strategies. I'm just going to go over, Jason said nitty-gritty, but not so much. I'm going to go over CrossFit's prescriptions in nutrition all there. They're sort of general recommendations, they're guidelines, and a few of the concepts they sort of talk about and what will be able to help you guys to sort of eat better, achieve better health, achieve better performance, and all the rest of it. Nothing what I say, what anyone says is going to be dogma or gospel. Okay, that's not what we're about. We're just going to try and help you out as much as we can. So, we come into the gym every day and we realise that CrossFit is a training methodology. We've got a training prescription, constantly very functional movements, executed high intensity. But what most people probably don't realise, the basis of CrossFit is that it's a nutrition and a exercise prescription. Okay, so the nutrition prescription to CrossFit is eat meat and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, no sugar. Keep intake to levels that support exercise but not body fat. Alright, so it's a big old, that's like a bit of a mission statement or the prescription that CrossFit gives that people, the way people should eat. Alright, I don't want you to freak out too much about that whole thing. Just keep it so super simple in your minds and your day-to-day life and each meal that you go to. Be like, look, eat vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit. What the hell does that mean? It's just like eat whole foods, eat natural foods, eat real foods, and try and avoid the soft drinks, the sodas, the candy, the lollies, all that stuff, all the processed stuff in that comes out of the packet. That's that no sugar aspect of it. Alright? Keep intake levels that support exercise but not body fat. If we're focusing on the whole food side of things, that should be mostly sort of self-managed. Alright? We know that it's very easy for me to eat a bucket of ice cream and some biscuits and cookies at night. But if I've had and I often do this, if I've had a head of cauliflower, I don't feel like eating it yet. I'm so freaking full. Okay, so if you eat, focus on the whole food stuff. The intake levels do sort of take care of themselves. Tom is going to talk more about the consumption and the numbers a bit more as well. So the nutrition prescription, if you do this, generally speaking, you're going to be healthy. All right, eating whole foods is going to get you to the 95-yard line, so to speak. It's going to get you most of the way to health. I want you to sort of have a quick think. Do you guys eat the prescription, or how close is your day-to-day or each meal to the prescription to CrossFit's nutrition? Anyone want to throw the hand up? Are we close?
Monday to Friday.
Sorry?
Monday to Friday.
Monday to Friday is pretty good. You'll have, like some sort of meat and whole fruits and vegetables at most meals.
Every meal of the week.
Yes, that is so good.
You got all processed food like a year ago.
Sorry?
You got all processed food a year ago.
Good, except with beer, obviously.
That's alright. That's even, since you moved up here, it's even been very good on the beers as well.
Yeah, 100%. Good on you. Good for you. And another thing I like to think about with it is I do my best to do that prescription. but I still think about doing most things right most of the time. But you still have to be honest with yourself, like what most things right means and most of the time means. But yeah, so do you eat the prescription? How close to that are you? And something I want to keep in your minds is nothing is either good or bad, right? So if you eat meat and vegetables, some fruit, it's not like dogma good, or if you eat like the drive-through for dinner on Saturday night because there's nothing else open, that is not bad. It's just like it's all on this scale, alright? So if you do most things right most of the time, this scale is going to be leveraged to all that good side of things, alright? If you do most things wrong most of the time, you're going to start to add some extra kilos, you're going to start to slow down in the gym, you're probably even drop off the bandwagon just because of some of your eating habits. You're going to start to be like, ooh, you go to the doctor, my blood pressure's up and all that sort of stuff. Most things right most of the time, eating whole foods, it's going to help you towards that. We all know eating some apples for lunch is better than eating donuts for lunch, so we all know that. Focus on whole foods and avoid sugar and processed foods as much as possible, right? This is what I'm sort of saying. And then eating for health and performance, and quality and quantity. We are the 99% of the population. We are the, without saying average, we are way above average, by the way. You are. But we're everyday people. We all come from different walks of life. The way we eat for health versus performance, it's just going to be eating the whole foods and avoiding the processed stuff and keeping the intake to levels that are appropriate for us and our bodies. Alright? So if we do that, we're going to, if we eat whole foods and the right amounts, we're going to see incredible benefits towards our health and then our performance in whatever the hell we want to do, whether it's in the gym or at work or whatever. So that's prescription and sort of my thoughts on how to follow that in your day-to-day life. CrossFit's got a number of models that they use to measure fitness. One of the models, or the last model, is the Sickness, Wellness, Fitness Continuum. And this model sort of more specifically measures sort of your health. All right, as you can see, we've got some health markers written on the board there. And at any point in our lives, we'll fall somewhere on this continuum. And it sort of just keeps going. All right, it's a sliding scale day to day, year to year, or whatever. But obviously our goal is to not land down in the sickness category, try and shoot further along to the wellness and to the fitness side of things. And the work we do in the gym, obviously, boom, it catapults us up this way. But the benefit to the way we eat, it's just going to like exponentially help us stay up that fitness side of things. Anything, if we eat most things right most of the time and we're working out sort of 3 days a week or more, boom, we're not just going to be well, we're going to be damn fit, especially if you walk out into the local shopping centre and you're like, oh man, I could beat anybody in this place at a 100 metre sprint. Unless it's a child. So then you think about it. Boom, like we're all doing that, eating most things right most of the time, and working out. Realistically, if we sort of fall off the bandwagon, we fall back to we're pretty well if we stop it for a little while. We've got this buffer before we hit that sickness side of things. And the cool thing about this model is that it's based on measurements, right? You could go to your GP, and I'm sure a lot of you do, especially if you're older, you probably go to the doctor a little bit more than I do, but you go to the GP and get these things measured, all right? You get the numbers checked tomorrow or today, in 6 months' time, 3 years' time, you compare where you're at with your sickness, wellness, your health, or your fitness. You check your blood pressure, body fat, bone density, cholesterol, your muscle mass, what's something else? Your resting heart rate. What's another measurable health marker? That's most of the main ones I know. Tom, you got anything?
Yeah.
What do we got?
Cholesterol.
Cholesterol, yeah.
Blood sugar.
Blood sugar, yeah.
BMI.
Measure how much you're sleeping, yeah. Hey?
BMI.
BMI, yeah, it's all sort of falls into that, what is it? Yeah, body fat percentage there. You could measure these, and you could improve or negatively affect any of these markers by how much exercise you're doing and what sort of and how much food you're eating, right? So this is where the motivation hopefully sort of helps get in your mind, like, cool, all right, we're going to work out regularly, and we want to make sure we're eating meat and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit most of the time, and try and avoid some of that bad stuff. So we can sort of catapult ourselves this way, all right? I'm going to just give a couple of examples of, and these are totally like just not pulled out of the air, but they're not specific to any person I know. But you think about measurable health markers, if we go to blood pressure and body fat, we've got someone that's 160 over 95 here, who's a nurse in the room. Pretty close to freaking pathological, or yeah, pretty rough. That person might have a 40% body fat, which is pretty high, overweight, close to obese. And you compare that to somebody who's got a 120 over 70 blood pressure and 20% body fat, which would be sort of closer to related to normal health. Right? Is that pretty sound?
Yeah.
Something somewhat sound information. You're probably going to correlate along this sickness, wellness, fitness continuum, these 160 over 95 and 40% body fat to somebody who can't run 400 metres or struggles to run 400 metres, and maybe I just put this one up there, struggles to squat to a full range of motion. I hate to throw him out there. I hate to put him under the bus because he's not here, but my dad, I think about him, right? He's got high blood pressure. Frick, I wish he would just come to the gym. I wish he would just come to the gym. But then you correlate these good numbers, this 120 over 70 with a 20% body fat, that's most of us. The other day, most of us ran freaking 5 kilometres without stopping, which is, boom, phenomenal. And you think about where we fall on this sickness, fitness, wellness continuum. You go to the, fully sick. You go to the doctor and you get your health markers measured because you exercise regularly and because you're eating well a lot of the time. They're going to be like, damn, like your freaking health markers are here. Yeah? But then you think, okay, well, if I maybe myself, if I eat a few less cookies, boom, I fall further up this continuum. If I eat more cookies, I feel it myself, and I'm pretty in tune with my body, but I know I fall this way the more crap I eat, the more if I have a few beers on the weekend. That's all fine in relative measures, but I know I can sort of feel where I'm falling on that line. I know I'm pretty in touch with that side of my body. I really like that. You could go and get that measured by your doctor and be like, Doc, I'm exercising, I'm trying to eat this. Can you measure my levels? I might change something and then see how we go. Yeah, that's why I really like that. I'm going to quickly touch on the macros. Tommy's going to talk about these a lot more, but all our food is made up of 3 macronutrients: protein, carbohydrates, fats. Protein, think about that as the building blocks of muscle. Right, it does have other functions in the body, but think about it mainly as just muscle building and muscle maintenance. Carbohydrates and fats, 2 macronutrients in food that are both energy sources. Carbohydrates, good source of immediate energy, and fat, great source of energy for longer bouts, and you can store that on your body as well for longer bouts or for survival. All right. All food is a combination of 3 of the 3, and think of whole foods, and simplify CrossFit's description by associating the foods or foods you eat to some of these macros when you're trying to build meals and trying to balance them out. So meat and vegetables, or meat in the prescription, you're trying to get your protein in. Your fruit and vegetables, you're trying to get carbohydrates and your nuts and seeds. You're going to get most of your fats, all right? Now, no foods are exclusively, or no whole foods are exclusively any one macro. For example, like you eat an egg, you're going to get plenty of protein and plenty of really good fats as well. And the same goes for a lot of things. Like I don't eat a whole lot of meat, but I still manage to get plenty of protein. One thing I'll say about that is make sure you are eating adequate amounts of good fats. They're going to have great hormonal benefits in your body as well. That is it from me. You guys got a question?
I see a lot of stuff that I've been reading where they're like carbs are bad, but obviously, would you say we need like some carbs?
Carbs are a source of fuel, yeah? Especially in a training method like CrossFit where it's high intensity and lifting weights. That's going to be the best fuel for your training. So they might talk about it soon. Maybe
Peggy touches first.
And Peggy might touches on it as well. Maybe fuel your body with the carbohydrates you're going to eat, the fruit and vegetables around your training times. I think that's what you're going to touch on. Maybe, around your training times.
So like before you train, you'd have more carbs.
Yeah, maybe an hour or 2 or the meal before you have training. a little bit of carbs, and then after as well, because you want to replenish that, because that after training, that carbohydrate will go into your muscle.
What would you say like
It's
good
stored.
carbs for would be?
Fruit and vegetables.
Fruit vegetables.
Fruit and vegetables, yeah.
What
CrossFit's prescription also does touch on grains, dairy, and legumes, is it? Yeah, as 3 groups of foods that you need to experiment with for yourself and see how that works. Some people are freaking brilliant on grains, I know I am, on legumes as well, but some people are not so much. Any other questions on the sort of the conceptual stuff before we go to really into the numbers and more day to day?
Zach, I'll just add to that.
Yeah.
I'm still with you on the back here, Ruben. But like, there's so many different conflicting programs. So you've got keto, you've got high carb, you've got high fat. For today, all I want you to do is just forget about everything you've heard. Just make it simple for yourself. And Tom will talk about it in a minute, but there's certain macros that produce energy in certain ways and at different times. So just when Tom comes up, just think about that, of like how these macros produce energy for you. And don't get wrapped around the axles of keto or any other thing like that. Literally, just clear your mind for today. Because basically, this methodology of nutrition is taking it back just to your bare roots, your basics. You can't get any simpler than this. Everything else you read, there's usually some kind of twist on it, and it's probably just going to confuse you and make you making changes even harder. So just keep it simple.
Keep it simple. Lots of variety in your food. Eat a bit of meat, a bit of vegetables, a bit of fruit, a bit of nuts and seeds, a bit of fun, a bit of all the rest of it. So that's it for me. I'm going to bring Tom up onto the floor. He's going to get into the numbers.
Yeah, so we'll talk a bit more about numbers, just some basic stuff. First thing, has everyone heard of calories? I'm sure everyone has. Yeah. You've probably heard Claire talking about she hasn't had enough in the day. Okay.
How do I fit more calories in my mouth?
Does anyone know what a calorie actually is?
Unit of energy?
It's a measurement of energy?
Yeah, that's all it is. So it measures how much we burn and how much we use throughout the day. Okay, so we consume calories and we use calories when we're training on the floor, like we are. Okay. As we saw back here, the nutrition label. Okay, you can see it says calories on here. That's by law, by the FDA. All foods, processed foods, have to have a nutrition label on them. Okay, but also by law, they're allowed to be out by 20%. Okay, so they're not
I did not know that.
Okay, so,
That's
yeah,
fascinating.
you might think you're having a certain amount of calories.
Wow.
You might not be, depending on the type of company you go to. Okay.
Down by 20% in my case.
So, calories. It all ties into our total daily energy expenditure. Okay, that is the base amount of calories that we burn throughout the day. So, if we were to lay in bed all day, not train, not do CrossFit, okay, we would burn a specific number throughout that day. Okay, and that is individualised based on a person's height or weight. Okay, gender, age, all those sort of factors, which was all get more about. So, okay. And then on top of that, like we all know CrossFit, we then burn more, okay? Our activity levels are changing our total daily energy expenditure. Okay, what we're going to do now, I'm going to take you through two separate people, no one in this room, no one that I know personally, okay? It's all made up numbers. We're just going to have a look at how maybe people are changing. Actually, this
Is that you, Claire?
Male, 21 years old, okay. Similar height, 100. Weight,
Got one.
okay. And their activity level is moderate, so they're coming across CrossFit 3 to 5 times a week. Okay. We'll then look at the next person. Okay. Again, this is no known. Person B is a 34-year-old female. Okay. Her height, 159 centimeters, weight 59 kilos, so she's not overweight by any means, but she does nothing in activity levels. Okay. So, does anyone have any idea in base of total daily energy expenditure, roughly in their life? How much someone might be using? Yeah? Yeah? So what would we say maybe this person fall in the range
2,500? 2,800?
3,000.
Calories or?
of kilojoules.
Kilojoules.
Yeah.
What the heck?
No, sorry, calories.
What are you explaining?
What are you doing here?
Between like 2,500 to 3,000?
Yeah, I reckon 3,000.
Yeah.
For some people who don't know, that's fine. I was just seeing if anyone did have a rough go.
Mm.
Yes. Okay, maybe what this person might fall into.
After that,
1,200 to
1,500.
That's good.
Yes,
It's 1,500.
Oh,
Oh.
It's just to show the difference in two different people.
Yeah.
Some people may have seen the slides before we come here today.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
Pick me, pick me.
2,964.
There is a big difference in the amount they are burning without doing anything. Okay? Double, okay, 3,000 calories, which is a lot of food to eat. Okay, for some people,
Yeah.
not me. This person eating that, and then on top of that, to make it.
To live.
Okay, whereas this person only has like 1,500 a day, which is
No,
not a
kilos,
lot
she
of
probably
food.
forgets to eat. She's 59 kilos, she probably should get
Yeah.
It's tall too. I'm 155. Sorry.
Yeah, so obviously we can't actually know body fat percentage anything on these people. You can maybe take a guess, maybe the female might be able to gain a bit more weight, depending on what she's doing, but that would come from maybe having some training into a light activity levels. But that was just showing people, okay, everyone's different, no one's should be eating the same. What some person is working for them, don't copy that, okay? Figure out what works for you, figure out how much you're burning in your life, and then make those adjustments, which is what we're going to help with today. So, calculating your TDEE, the total daily energy expenditure. Nice free way to do it is just go into online, okay, it's a calculator. You throw in all this information that we just saw here, so all of that, okay, and that can work out roughly, pretty well, pretty accurate, how much. If you want to spend a bit more money, you can go get a DEXA scan, in-body scans, those sort of things, and they'll give you exact amounts of calories that you would have to eat to maintain, okay? But that is the cheap, free way to do it. Has anyone actually calculated this? Just curious. Right, yeah. So, based off this information, what we can do then to make changes. Okay? I thought I'd make it simple. Well, not simple, but I thought I'd use a scale to maybe make it more relatable for some people rather than just throwing the words deficit, surplus, and maintenance and people and expect them to understand what that all means. Okay? So, I'm sure in everyone's life or throughout our CrossFit journey, we've either gained weight, lost some weight, or maintained. Would I be right? Has anyone not hit one of those?
Yeah, I haven't lost any weight. Like, just so everybody knows.
This is a very heavy scale.
I was perfect when I started.
Okay, so this scale is all based on how much you intake and then how much you output. And depending on that is where the scale goes. Very simple in that way. So, if you were to intake too much, okay, compared to what you're outputting, so you're eating more than you're burning, as we saw in the total daily energy expenditure, you would be sitting in a surplus, so a calorie surplus. Okay, so you're eating more, but not burning enough. Okay, and over time that would probably add to weight gain. Okay, whether you want it or not, that depends on the person. Okay, and then over time it can lead to those diseases in the long term if you want to rescale. Okay. Then we've got deficit, so the complete opposite of weight. What you're burning, you aren't having enough of to replenish. Okay, so you're going into a deficit, which is then leading to weight loss. Okay, and then over time as well, that can lead to detrimental health. Okay, so and then we've got the perfect scale. Okay, you're eating just the right amount to what you're burning. Okay, which might be hard for some people. Okay, to get that perfect balance. Is there any questions?
No, but just a comment, like it might just always throughout your life just be sort of this
There's nothing wrong with
waving,
fluctuation.
yeah, a little bit of a waving line, yeah, up and down and up and down, yeah.
We shouldn't be put off by the scales on the ground. Okay,
Mm.
it's all based around how we feel and talk about
Mm.
a bit more. Okay. Yeah, and the good thing, once you've calculated your TDEE, your total daily energy expenditure, you can then make changes to tip the scale in which way you would like. Okay, which we'll talk a little bit more about. So, as I was saying, we're going to talk about deficits, surplus, maybe gaining weight, losing weight, maintaining weight in our actual training and how that might relate to some people. Okay, this is all very well to talk about losing weight or gaining weight, but then we've also got CrossFit here and it might not be the best thing to do for us. Okay, because it is about performance sometimes in here, but what the scale's reading. So yeah, like everyone, I'm sure we've all looked in the mirror and gone, oh, I can maybe lose a few kilos or the opposite way, depending. Okay, I'm sure I'm not the only one in that one. But yeah, how do we know when we should make those changes? I know personally, I don't know about anyone else. Yes,
Feel it, wouldn't you?
yes, definitely. I know personally when I'm a bit sluggish in a run, a 400 metre gets a lot longer than it should be. Okay, or the opposite way, my weights, I'm not hitting the numbers that I like. Okay, I'm feeling pretty weak and I'm lacking motivation in the gym, probably not eating enough. Okay, so that is when it's probably time to make a change in what we're eating. Rightio. So, we've just come off a strength block, okay? Did anyone have any eating plans during a strength block for those that were involved? Yes, Blair. Yes?
Yeah, I was bulking. Sorry, I was in a surplus.
Yeah, you can say bulking. If you want to call it surplus. Anyone else have any?
We started with
We
the
tried.
roll.
We tried, but then we supported our
What'd you try, sorry?
We supported your game.
We were just clean eating, basically.
Calorie
We just,
counting.
yeah,
Yeah.
we started, and then I got really sick, probably 3rd or 4th week in, so I fell right off the
We also
radar.
had your birthday in there. That was
That as well.
right off
So
the
we,
too.
And that took a
went
month.
through the first couple,
Winner.
first couple of weeks, it made it through okay, but yeah.
Yeah, so
We tried to keep each other accountable, basically.
Yeah, so it was just based around clean eating, or
Yeah.
did you want to drop?
Yeah, we did
Yeah.
want to drop.
We had that plan, but then, like I said, we supported each other's stats. We'd be like, yeah, feels, I'm going to block a chocolate. And our goals were like, yeah, okay, that's acceptable. We didn't keep each other accountable like we planned.
Yeah, okay. We don't
But we all got
need
PBs
to
as
spend
well.
accountability of friends.
We tried.
No, that's good.
We got halfway through, I think.
Yeah, I'm not talking about accountability. Yeah, so, strength block. I personally would recommend trying to lose weight during a strength block. That's what I'm going to talk about now. That's probably why it ended up failing, because it's not
We were hungry.
Yeah. You try to eat too clean too quick, and then you gave into your indulgences, which I think Peggy and Claire are going to talk about a bit more later on. Mass moves mass. I'm trying not to talk too much about the training, okay? We all know that term, okay? So during our strength block, what I would definitely recommend is either eating in that surplus or eating in that maintenance, okay? Because you need the fuel to lift heavy weights, okay? So putting yourself into the gym in a deficit is probably not going to lead to anything good. You can end up with injuries and illnesses, okay? And because you're not fueling your body enough, especially when you're lifting those high percentage weights, okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, let's look at the next block. For those that don't know, we're running a hypertrophy block, so a bodybuilding block. Lucky's keen to do some bicep curls. And I think Claire's already got the plan that I'm going to talk about, which is,
Going into a deficit
Yeah.
during hypertrophy.
yeah, if you're that person, maybe based on how you feel right now, maybe looking at your TDEP when you go home, and then looking at maybe the next week how much you eat, you might decide to maybe go into a deficit for the next block, which would be a perfect time. It's all higher reps, okay, lower weights. It's a really good time to maybe just cut down a few kilos over the next month, get summer fit, look really good on the beach.
At the start, 10.
We have got it. Oh, look, we're going to start at 10.
We need 10 club.
In the park?
No, my house every day at 11 a.m.
I'm at work, don't wear clothes. Now we're going to go to the park.
With all this, group, I just want to reiterate, this is all based on how you feel, okay? Don't use those scales as gospel, right? That number doesn't mean much to anyone, okay? It shouldn't mean much to anyone. It should just be all about how you feel. Obviously, if your GP says you might be dying if you don't lose weight,
Jesus Christ, Thomas.
that's fine. That's no one in here, but I'm just saying, there is times when maybe the scale could be the problem, but I don't think anyone in this room needs to worry about that.
I can't remember what my question was.
Well, I'll jump
Okay,
in and ask
good.
a question on behalf of Mel. So Thomas, if I was starting to feel really good at the gym and I could physically see that I was losing weight, but the scale said either that I hadn't changed weight at all or I was getting heavier,
Yeah.
why might that be?
Weighing at the same time of day is a big thing. Your weight does fluctuate throughout the day.
Muscle mass, gaining
Yeah.
That's what my question was.
Yeah.
I was getting yes that one. There's a few different things
No,
too.
is muscle
What?
heavier than
Same as sore muscles are heavier. If you're sore
Is that
all the
true?
time, you get way more. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Sore muscles are heavier.
really? Really?
Are they holding more water? Is that why?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah, so if you're sore all the time,
I'm so heavy.
if you are the person who loves the scales, there's nothing wrong with that, okay? Get naked in the first thing in the morning, get on the scale. Don't wear all your clothes, okay? Don't weigh yourself just before you go to bed after you've had a big meal. You're only going to get in your own head about maybe you haven't been losing weight, okay? And remember how much water you drink, okay? Sodium and H2O have a big impact. If anyone watches the UFC, yeah, they get to drop weight, to drop pounds, they go without water for 24 hours, no salt. It's ridiculous. They get in a sauna for ages. Okay, so yeah, don't worry about that.
They do it to racehorses.
Yeah, they do it. Yeah, anything with a weight. Yeah. So, this should be really easy. Does anyone remember the 3 macros?
Protein, carbs, fat.
Yes. Listen to that.
So rare.
So, as you mentioned, okay, these are our 3 energy yielding macronutrients. Think of it as 1/3, okay? A full circle, sorry. You get one of these, you're missing a full part, okay? So, talking back, how Jason was about keto, those sort of diets. No diet is good that is fully getting rid of a certain macronutrient, okay? They are designed, you're at 100 full calorie. So, you want to do 100 grams of protein? Yes.
Quick math.
Should I ask Gemma?
Okay. And then fats, I know it says 8, it's 8 to 9 calories, so it's done already. That doesn't mean that fats is something that you're going to cause obesity, okay? It obviously means you're going to need lesser amounts of fats compared to the carbohydrates and protein, okay? But they are still crucial. So carbohydrates, okay? There's a few examples of what they are. Obviously, we don't recommend sugar. Natural sugar is fine, but we don't recommend too much of artificial sugar, but it is a carbohydrate in itself, sugar.
So what about honey? Is that like a carbohydrate?
Yeah, that's a natural sugar.
Yeah.
Don't be
Still sugar though, is it?
Yeah. It's a carb. Yeah, it's a sugar. So, these are our foods. The carbohydrates are in. Okay. Carbohydrates, as I said, are our major energy source in CrossFit. Right, that is what fuels our body. That's what gets us through the high intensity interval training that we do. Without them, you're going to be slower and you're going to be lethargic. And sometimes, motivation can also lead to not having enough carbs. So our carbohydrates, without getting too sciencey, it's turned into glycogen, okay, in the body, and it is then stored in the liver, and then also stored in the muscles, and that is when it's utilised in our workouts. Okay, so that's how that system works. Back on to what Gibbo said, the misconception of carbs make you fat. That is bullshit. Just to put it out there. Okay, same as maybe you've ever heard having carbs before bed will cause fat. Has anyone ever heard that one? They try to sell that for a fair bit. Yeah.
So to clarify that, anything over your total daily energy expenditure.
All foods
Makes you fat.
although hard, you eat enough vegetables, you will get fat. It's very hard to eat that much vegetables.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah, let's do it.
Terrible.
Peggy, Claire, I think maybe even Jason will go more into what these actual foods look like, but these are their categories. So let's move on to protein. Those are some of the foods that protein can be found in. The big one, animal products, okay, that's where I think most people know protein comes from. But it also comes in our legumes, our nuts and grains, and some small products, okay? As Zach said, protein is responsible for growth and repair of the muscle, okay? But it also can be used as energy when there is no actual carbs in the body, okay? On top of that, for those that might be not having enough protein, it also houses 8 of the most 8 very crucial amino acids, okay, that we need in our body daily. Okay, so not having enough protein is also dangerous for not getting the amino acids that you need. Okay. With the amount of protein you should probably have.
Sorry, that
No,
was
you're right.
that was out of hate, not you.
With the amount of proteins you should probably have, crew, I recommend to most people a gram per pound of body weight. Okay, I know we don't talk a lot about it in pounds, but it is the easiest conversion to do. So if you weigh 100 kilos like me, it's 225, well, 20 something pounds, okay, of protein that I need. Claire, do you know how much you have?
120 grams of protein. 125 grams of protein
Do
a
you
day.
base that off your, how much you weigh?
Is that per meal or a day?
No, not per meal.
Total day.
And for those that struggle, maybe, sorry.
And protein isn't the food, protein in the food.
Yeah. So
Amount
you
of
can,
Not 125
Oh,
grams
yeah,
of
so it's not
chicken.
like 100
Yeah, no,
grams.
so you might want to
The
go
protein
to
and
My
protein.
Fitness Pal or a couple of other apps and have a look at it, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's probably the hardest one to eat though. Like I find when I do track, protein's always low.
Yeah, so an example I use, okay, I've got maybe 220 grams to get in. I divide that by how many meals I'm going to have, and you make sure that amount is in each meal. Okay, and you'll be able to hit it. It's, yeah, it is hard, but it is, yes, no.
So also depends where your meat comes from.
Not so much
Because
in
if you have this grass, how do you call it, grass-fed meat or no hormones in your chicken, you're trying to look for the most clean animal that you can find.
Yeah.
That has an impact as well, or not?
It doesn't change the macronutrients. It, as Peggy or Claire or Jace want to talk about,
Okay.
obviously the shittier the food, the shittier you feel. Okay. It doesn't change much in terms of calories in macronutrients. Okay, but it does change some other things that will happen
Yes,
in the body
but
from
it's
eating
still
too
not
much normal
that
amounts
clean.
of food.
You might just find that grass-fed beef might have just a slightly lower fat content per serving sort of thing, but it won't be huge. And it all comes down to your health option versus the processed type stuff. So, but it won't be a massive fluctuation. You're always going to get some level of fat with the proteins, and things like grass-fed are just going to vary that a lot.
But that kind of fat is like a good fat as well, right? Obviously not in large amounts, but
Yeah. The grass-fed to the other options, okay, that's more in how it affects your hormones, which I'm not really going into. So we'll keep it simple, and we bombarded people on how much to eat and then what to eat, and clean versus that, and grass-fed versus it's just going to get too much, okay? But it is a good question. Fats, okay, not the thing around my stomach, okay? It's my macronutrient. It's a bit less there now. Okay, so we have our 3 types of fats. Our saturated fats, which I just spoke about. So we've got animal sources, comes with our beef, our chicken, those sort of products. We've got our unsaturated fats, so our little oils, our nuts and avocados, and some other things. Okay, and then we got our trans fats, so margarine, the vegetable oil, the canola oil, the fast food, the Domino's pizza that you might have on Thursday night. Those sort of things. That's where the trans comes into. Okay. Specific fats are essential for our health and well-being. Okay. Just because it says fat doesn't mean you're going to get fat. Let's get away from that. Okay. So without these fats, you will struggle to break down certain vitamins like vitamin A, vitamin K, E, D and E. Sorry.
what's good oils?
I'll talk about that in a second.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah. So without those fats, it comes with certain vitamins because they are fat soluble. So getting rid of fat totally is also going to stop you from being able to consume certain vitamins. Okay, rightio. And as Zach said, it can be used as an energy source in the later periods of exercise. Over the long term, in marathons, it kicks in. Okay, and it helps complement that sort of stuff. So talking about the bad oils, the good oils, trans fats is the fats that we want to avoid. I've got them up there because they are a thing in the world. Okay, but you cut those out, you'll have a lot less heart disease in the world, a lot less health risks. Okay, our good oils. Piggy's, I think, talking about it more. Avocado, coconut, really good virgin olive oil, macadamia, the really expensive ones pretty much, versus the canola oils, the sesame oils, those sort of things.
What about rice bran? Is that good?
I think it is
Olive oil, just think olive.
yeah. Or avocado, either. Yeah. Or coconut, very easy sources to get. Okay. Is there any questions for that? Because that will be me done.
No, I liked it.
Yeah, so big thing that I want to reiterate, sorry, just before Peggy jumps in. It's all about how we feel, not about the scales. Let's keep that in mind. We all train really hard in the gym, so let's not get too worked up in the scales.
I'm eating my scales when I get home.
Yeah.
Freaks me them
I'll
out
hand
off
over
the
to
cliff
Peggy.
at home.
Thanks,
What are we going to do when you come over to my house?
No, but you can keep your scales.
Whenever they come over, somehow the scales always end up
Yeah,
we all
move them.
weigh ourselves.
And every time I get on them, Claire goes, "Wow, you surprised me." And I say yes, because I'm dense. Every time she says it to me. And I'm proud of my density, don't worry.
And refuse to have their like theirs without.
Wow.
I like mirrors.
No, I like to look at myself.
Okay, so what is clean eating? I think we all know a lot about it, but taking the time to think about it regularly is important, and that's where we can make some changes. Basically, clean eating means you're choosing food that is as close as possible to its natural state. It's not processed, or it's minimally processed, doesn't have any crap added to it, doesn't have too much stuff taken away. It's as close to real and natural as possible. So general rule of thumb, fewer ingredients, the cleaner the food. Pretty simple. Really, it's very simple. When you're thinking about what to eat, and you want it to be pretty clean, 3 basic things, again, everything is really basic today, which is really good, to look for and then try to avoid. Sugar is one, all kinds of sugar. And here's where you've got to learn the language. If you're reading food labels, sugar is disguised as a whole bunch of different things. Can you guys think of any?
Yeah,
Corn syrup.
Glucose
syrup,
yes. In America, there's even more weird names for it. It's really scary. It's everywhere. So, and then the better the sugar, the better. If it actually says sugar, it's probably better than if it says some other scary thing. So sugar is one. Flour. I get caught up on flour a lot. I forget. Not that flour in itself is bad, but there's all different kinds of flour, and some of them are very highly processed, right? So the closer to real you get, the better. Oils, we already touched on it a little bit. Safest bet, really good olive oil, avocado oil, and coconut oil. The other ones, well, think about it. Make your choice, carefully. But those are the safest, top of the line ones. I heard a podcast recently. I can give you the details of it if you want to hear it. It's really good about clean eating. They talk about food on the spectrum. And I found it really, really helpful, so I wanted to share it with you guys. On one end is the ultra-processed non-food foods, Twinkies. My son brought home a Twinkie this week, and he's like, "Oh, I wanted to taste it. I got one for my girlfriend. They were disgusting." I'm like, yes, because you taste oils and you taste chemicals. It's really nasty. So processed, you barely even know where it came from and what real food is actually in it. And there's not much. Then you move a little bit better, and you're still processed, but you're getting there. You're getting closer. And then lightly processed. Again, I'll go into examples in a second. And then you have clean and ultra clean. So clean is the easy, when you're thinking really carefully, it's pretty easy to go clean. Everything is relatively pure, relatively whole, and then if you're really going to get, I like to say neurotic, but that sounds negative, so it's not neurotic. You're really going to go insanely careful. You're hitting the ultra clean, where you actually know exactly where your food is sourced, exactly what's in it. You grew it yourself, you know. Maybe you didn't grow the cow, but you know what I mean. So there, just some examples again. Starting from cookies, I put cotton candy in there because yum. Potato chips, my favorite chip food in the world. It's a potato, right? So it's got to be a vegetable.
Boom.
Yeah, right. The end. You see what I'm saying? It's quite processed. Lightly processed, I forget about this one. It's kind of a big category. It's really broad. Deli meats, stuff like that. Bacon, so yummy, right? But you know what? It's better than some of the shit on the other end of the spectrum. You're getting closer, but it's still not close enough, maybe, if you're trying to go extreme. And then when you get to cleaning, you've got the fruits, the veg, the stuff that you get at the you know, the edge of the store. Well, not that edge in my store, this edge in your store. But even in here, okay, I try to get nuts. I try to get my kids to eat more nuts. So I get packs of, you know, mixed nuts or trail mix or whatever. But then you forget too, a lot of them have yummy spices and flavors. Sometimes there's a lot more sugar added than you realize. Or they've got chocolate bits in them, or you know, stuff like that. Just look carefully, read the label, figure out what's added, and then obviously again, the more you know about your food, if you've grown it yourself in perfect soil, if you have an ocean in your backyard and you get fish out of it, I mean, you know, seriously, you know what I'm saying. So that's kind of the spectrum. But really quick, I wanted to take a sample meal. I shouldn't have clicked, not that you can see it. Okay, give me a typical breakfast that I want to say to you, but you guys are all really healthy. Okay, what's your breakfast?
Porridge, like the sachets, because they're quick and easy.
Okay, anything else?
Sometimes I'll just do avocado and sour cream.
Okay,
So
cool.
a good breakfast or a bad breakfast?
It's just breakfast.
Examples of both.
Just breakfast.
I had both this morning.
Peanut butter, honey, and muffin, like English muffin.
Okay, all right. So let's combine. Let's say we're really hungry. We're having some quick cook, little sachet of oatmeal. You know, you add the water, it's got flavor in it. Cool, it's done in a minute. Okay, take the first example. It's not really quicker, not really, to eat that. By the way, I've done the experiment. I mentioned I have 6 kids. It's not. It's barely quicker. You got to microwave it, or you got to boil the water, and you put it in, and then it tastes great. But there's a lot of sugar in it.
Or natural flavors.
Right? But if you cook oatmeal yourself, it takes 3 minutes on the stove.
But I don't have time for that because I literally cook it at my office and sit at my desk and eat it.
Fair enough. Right?
Buy yourself a little portable cooktop.
Always the answer.
A rice cooker. Put it in a rice cooker.
Just water, just dry scoop it.
But then, okay, what are you putting in it? My daughter puts in tons of brown sugar and blueberries. Still better than a lot of options, but there's a lot of added sugar, right? Okay? Anyway, toast with honey, or an English muffin with honey. Honey is better than sugar. Honey is better than Nutella.
Golden
Syrup. Yes, very true. The kind of bread you're using, right? The kind of bread you're using English muffin, you're using a bagel. Nobody eats bagels.
I eat bagels.
Bagels.
Love them.
Thank you.
Obsessed.
Bagels are the best. No, seriously. When you're thinking about the kind of bread you use, read the label. Look at the color of the bread. Look at how many seeds are in the bread. Find out how much fiber is in the bread. The higher the fiber, the healthier the bread. The more seeds in it, the healthier the bread. Right? So that goes back to the carbs. Are all carbs bad for you? No. White bread's kind of bad for you. Wheat bread's better. Seed bread's even better. Right? So it's all on the spectrum again. So everything you eat, you can throw on the spectrum and say, what choice can I make that makes it just a little bit better? You don't need to go from all the way to one end to the other end, that's not sustainable. Quick change like that, you'll burn out, right? So, enough of that. I think we've gotten the idea. We've got the idea. Yes. Pros and cons of clean eating, this has already been discussed, and I think we all know it if we take a second to think about it. Cleaner the food, the higher nutritional value the food is, really. The better the calories are. It's not just about more, it's about the kind of calories, right? Clean eating facilitates proper and efficient functioning of all your body systems. It's not just going to help you lose weight. It's not just going to help you do better in the gym. It's going to improve every system in your body, all of them. You cannot go wrong. Clean eating fuels an active lifestyle. It helps you improve your sleep. It helps you improve your mood, your hormones, all of that stuff. Everything, across the board. Long-term health, the benefits are huge. You feel good. You feel better. You just feel better when you're fueling like a car. And my sister was an elite gymnast, and she always said, "I'm like the Lamborghini. I have to eat really well." She's not wrong, really. I mean, you feel better when you eat nice, good food. The cons are pretty minimal, and they don't really win any arguments. Might be a little bit less convenient. That's true, especially when you've got a family, when you work. Definitely true. There's a learning curve when you're trying to eat clean. It takes time. Be patient with yourself. Small changes are huge. Maybe you got to give up some yummy things, but I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. When you got yucky habits, there's a strategy I want to share with you to help get better with that. So, again, just going through some examples. I know we've touched on it already. When you're thinking of proteins, here's some examples of clean proteins. We've got nuts, unflavored, preferred, the less flavored, the better. Nut butters, single ingredient meats and animal products. So, you go to the meat section and you get mince. So you look for the leaner, what do they do? The star rating, 2, 3, 4, 5-star rating. Try to get the one with less fat, but try to stay away from the ones that are already made, like already ready to cook. Yeah.
Devon?
My kid's favorite.
With tomato sauce.
It's basically Spam, right?
I've actually just had one of my kids ask me if I have it again. I'm like,
And hot dogs. Oh,
So cool.
I cringe.
Gross.
Yeah, my
Love a hot dog.
daughter put Cheerios on the list.
I love it.
Yeah, there's just so much unknown in there. Anyway,
The red.
eggs, cottage cheese, Greek yogurt, lentils, beans, legumes. So what do these things do? They're the building blocks of life. They hold amino acids. They create and repair cells. We cannot go without protein. The healthier one is the better. Clean carbs. This is a big, we've already touched on fruits and veg. I don't think until like a few years ago, I don't think I actually realized fruits and veg are carbs. They are. Whole grains, corn, peas, legumes, beans, potatoes. What do? They provide energy, like Tom already talked about. We need that a lot. I know people who've gone on no-carb diets. It can work as a strategy for a particular purpose for a very short time. My husband actually did this for a while ago to lose weight fast, but he stayed on it too long, like 2 weeks was recommended. 0 carbs. I think he had tomatoes or something like that. So there was a couple of vegetables in there. But anyway, by week 3, he was in a fog and he could not function, literally could not function. So, yeah.
what do you eat if you don't eat carbs?
Well, there were some carbs in it. It was a strict diet.
Meat, eggs,
Mostly meat.
no vegetables.
Yeah, up your fats as well.
Yeah, but
I
it's
just feel
amazing.
crap.
It's crazy. I would recommend to try it. No, but don't. Anyway, super important.
I have a
Clean fats. Yes.
Why is white rice not a whole grain? Is that?
It's processed because
Is it?
the change between the natural rice and the white rice is processing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Black rice.
Cool.
But
That's a great
basmati
question.
rice
I wasn't
also
sure.
is really, really.
So
So essentially processed.
White rice been like modified, hasn't it?
Is it processed?
It's got the husk taken off.
It's like white flour versus whole wheat flour.
With white rice,
Process is
out
quicker
white,
because there's
they
less
bleach it or something, or is it?
It was just white.
I don't know that it's all bleached. I don't know.
What do they call it when they degerm it or something? When they do that? Yeah.
Okay, quick, clean fats. Again, you've got nuts, you've got seeds, you've got lean meats and fatty fish. Fatty fish sounds funny. Salmon, tuna. I don't like fish, so I don't have to worry about that, except for salmon and tuna.
Fish.
Fish oil, olive oil, coconut oil, avocado, fats store energy. They absorb nutrients, super important. Without enough fat in your diet, you will not be able to process the energy in your body correctly. Really important. They're important for hormones and cell function.
Peggy, what about cooking with animal fat? That because I heard a lot of
G, is that what you mean? Like G, is that what they call it?
like that fat or animal fat instead of
Good.
oil,
Good.
even if it's coconut. That's good.
I don't know.
It's a pain.
It's good.
It's good,
Yep.
Yeah, I heard a lot of
Pure?
it's really good.
Yeah, because it's, I would assume good. Yeah. Just like bone marrow. Yeah. Yeah, it comes right from the source. So to close this part up, again, your job, most important job when you're thinking about changing how you're eating, look at what you currently normally do. Make small steps to move it on the other end of the spectrum. That's it. Becoming aware means you can start having an intention, making some goals, and then you can take action. Quick notes on alcohol and snacks.
And combined, they're even better.
Alcohol, as much as we all love it, you have to be careful because it is a contributing factor in weight gain. Or loss, depending on which way you're going. It carries calories. You kind of don't really remember when you're going to go have a beer or 5 or however many.
Or
that you're actually having lots of calories in the body.
But it's made from grain.
Therefore, it's a whole food.
Grain and water. Like, come on.
That's Dan Gabbett logic, that one.
Then what else happens? You go out for beers, you got to get some food, right? You got to eat the chips, you got to do everything else. So there's a couple different things going on psychologically as well. You just need to be aware of it. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying, right?
Oh, we're aware. It tastes good.
Put a limit on it. Put the chips in a bowl and don't eat any more. Whatever. Snacks, same thing. It's very easy at different times of day when you like to snack to just pick up something convenient because it's a snack and you got to eat it really quick. Or like when you're hungry and you're alone for the first time of the day and you really want something. Anyway, it's very easy to make bad choices with your snacks. Best case scenario, have them prepared in advance. You've already made the choice, now you just go grab it, right? Think ahead, have healthy options there.
Just a note on alcohol, I'm pretty used to this. If you are going to drink, hit your protein before you drink. Eat all your protein, then go have a drink. It's the best way to do it.
But also, Thomas, correct me if I'm wrong, but most alcohols are, it's empty calories. You're not getting any of the macro. Like, you know, beer will contain some carbs and your wine as well, but as far as your spirits go, you're getting calories, so you're working towards your maintenance or your deficit or whatever, that number, but you're not getting any of the benefit from it. It's the opposite of what I'm saying, is that you're getting calories without getting anything that will actually fuel your body to, yeah.
Empty calories. Empty calories.
Empty calories.
Okay, so switching habits. Alright, like we said, you develop an awareness of what you're eating. Has to come first. Without awareness, you're not going to get anywhere. To be honest, figure out where your weaknesses are. Figure out what your habits are, even if it takes evaluating. It takes awareness to know what habits we have. And then I think from my own experience, figuring out the why of that particular habit, like I'll beat myself up a lot because I will eat chocolate late at night. And okay, for years, I beat myself up, Why? Okay, think about why am I eating this stupid chocolate? It's not the chocolate's fault. What am I trying to gain out of that? What's happening? Is it psychological? Is it emotional? Is it just a habit that's mindless? Am I not eating enough of the right kind of food earlier in the day that's creating cravings? All that kind of stuff. It's really, really, really important to go through that and figure out why you're actually doing it psychologically, which can get a little bit intimidating sometimes. But it takes that, and then you can switch. You can make, like I've changed from eating a large amount of dark chocolate with mint. Lint, by the way, just in case anybody wondered, to a smaller amount. That was my first step, and now I don't have to do it sometimes a lot. I mean, I go over a long time without it, but a smaller amount, and then I'll savor it. I'll suck on it until it's gone. But really, and I'm not going to beat myself up about it anymore. But I know why I did it. Or the salt. Salt's another one. Really important craving. Anyway, so figure out your why. Be realistic. Take small steps. Right? Think. That's it.
I look like that when I'm
Thanks, Peggy. That was so good.
All right, everyone stand up. We're getting a little bit jittery, a little bit fidgety. All right.
I'm gonna go garden.
Can you go find my wood?
10 burpees.
Water bottle if you need to.
Yeah,
Every time to the toilet though, you're going to call.
Can't handle 90 kilos in your
All right, let's go. Come back in. Okay, guys. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some other important considerations that we need to think when we're trying to make any kind of a lifestyle change. And a way of sort of changing the way that we eat without feeling that we're ever deprived is the 80-20 rule. So what that means is for 80% of the time, you're fueling your body with really nutritious whole foods, that Tom, Zach, Petty and Jason have spoken about. But then that other 20% are the foods that make you feel good, like mentally. They're your soul foods. They're chocolate, the biscuit, ice cream, a couple of drinks every now and then, or going out to dinner with some friends. And it's a way that we can live our life without ever feeling that we're deprived and actually maintain those lifestyle changes that we're trying to make over a long period of time. The other thing that is really, really important, particularly when we're trying to lose weight and we're eating less food, is timing our food around the time that we're training. So there's nothing worse than starting a diet. You've worked out that you're currently eating 3,000 calories and your maintenance calories are only 2,000, and you're like, holy hell! Somehow in my day I've got to cut out 1,000 calories. There is no one here that would go from 3,000 to 2,000 and not be hungry. And if you're hungry, you're sad. You don't want to come to the gym.
Speaking from experience.
Not wrong.
You're less likely to come to the gym and just one thing leads to another and you're just not happy.
Quote of the day.
So something that's really important is just making sure that we're using those 2,000 calories that we have to the best of their ability, or maximising every calorie that's in those 2,000 that we're eating. So, two types of snacks that we might think of is our pre and post-training snacks. Now Peggy's talked a lot about trying to steer away from those processed foods, but sticking with that 80-20 rule, where 20% of the food that we're eating is food that makes us feel good. The 20% might be where we use some slightly processed foods, but as pre-workout, before our workout. So Nutella on toast.
4 or 5.
And some people, particularly training in the morning, some people are like, God,
No
eating
time.
something before I go to the
I'd
gym
be sick.
is the last thing I think of.
I
Yeah.
don't eat before the 9:15.
But for me, I wake up and I am starving. So for me, like, top priority is getting up and having something to eat.
So
And
not necessary though.
it's not necessary, but you might also find that you need to, try and get up 10 minutes earlier and play with it for a week. Have, something to eat on the way to the gym, a banana, whatever. But you want to make sure that you're not having it too close to when you're exercising, because that's when you can feel really full. You don't feel good. You're trying to do a handstand push-up, you feel like you're gonna vomit. There's a really fine line between not eating too much and also the types of food that you're eating.
I reckon, like from my experience, I wasn't eating before I came to the gym, and then when I did start eating, found that you can sort of like maintain like a workout, like especially a long workout, you just sort of have a bit more.
Absolutely, yeah. But it also might be, the common case of you don't know until you know. So you might turn up and go, yeah, I smashed that workout, and then for a week you try eating something beforehand, and you're like, holy hell, like I felt so much better from having something before I trained. So what I like to think about is the foods that we're eating pre-workout are primarily calories. They're your bland-looking foods. So it might be a piece of toast, it could be a banana, it could be some oatmeal. Going to extreme and more performance-based might be some lollies or things like that. But when we're trying to make a lifestyle change, we want to steer away from those to begin with. And then when we're just trying to fine-tune things, that's when we can go back. So you've got a couple of options as well. You can go for your simple carbohydrates, sort of 30 minutes to an hour and a half for your training session, which is all the things I just said: raisin toast, banana toast, juice, cereal, lollies, crumpets, etc. Or you can time it so that 3 to 4 hours before. So if you're an afternoon trainer, it might be at lunchtime. You've got something that's got your beans, sweet potato, rice, those kind of things. And then post-training, one more thing pre-training, we're trying to avoid anything that's high protein, high fat, or high fiber. Because those three things are what's going to make us feel sluggish if we're eating them too close to when we're exercising. On the contrary, post-training is where we are looking for high protein, high carb, and getting a little bit of fat back in that meal. With post, yes.
Sorry, I just with like pre-workouts and stuff, are there any that are like a little bit of a combination that you can have? So instead of eating, it's like that little bit of something.
Yeah, so like Revive will do an endurance blend, which is carbohydrates. It's pure carbohydrates. It's like Gatorade is the same kind of thing. So we're still trying to avoid the ultra processed stuff like that. And you just go for a banana or something. A banana, you've got caffeine, plus you've got a source of carbohydrates.
Sounds good.
I usually have a coffee before I train, obviously the early morning. I'll be like, I'll have a coffee because otherwise it's itch. But I was doing the pre-workout, which was meant to be like a litre beforehand. And I halved it. It was way too much. Like I couldn't do that. But I didn't really notice, like, I've finished it now, I didn't really notice the difference between having that or a coffee.
Pre-workout, most pre-workouts are just a source of caffeine. That's all they are. They don't contain many calories, no carbs, none of the fuel that we're actually using to work out. Caffeine is more of a mental stimulant than anything. It provides a little bit of stimulant for your body. You won't notice a huge difference caffeine versus okay.
I've got a bit of a tip I've been using before training in the mornings. I don't know if this is good for like general life, but it's been working for me. So I make like my little thing of overnight oats, but instead of having it in the fridge, so you got to get out of bed and get up, I just put it on my phone like overnight, and literally my alarm. I hate eating in the morning, but when I'm really tired, I just wait for my alarm to go off, and it's right there, so I immediately just grab it and eat it in bed. So like then by the time I get up, I've already eaten. Yeah. And it works really well for me, because otherwise if I get up and I go to the fridge and then I'm training in 20 minutes, I'm like, oh, I don't want to eat, so then I eat nothing and I feel like crap. So I just eat it in bed and yeah.
Do you also sleep in your workout clothes?
Shoes and everything.
Whatever works for you.
In that post-workout meal, we're aiming for 0.4 to 0.55 grams per kilogram of body weight of protein. Sounds like a lot of maths for you. And then 0.8 to 1.1 grams per kilo of body weight for carbohydrates. So using myself as an example.
Put it up. What's the number?
One more pre-training thing.
Yes.
One more pre-training thing. Don't eat anything too cold before you train, because it actually has to heat up in your body before you digest it.
But root cancer is okay.
Oh yeah.
So using myself as an example, I train at 5:30 most mornings. Most of the mornings I'll have 2 pieces of raisin toast with some butter. Most of the time in the car on the way to the gym, because I live 25 minutes away now, so that's a pretty good time for me. Eat that, and then by the time we start the workout, it's usually sort of that hour window. And that gives me 37 grams of carbs, 6 grams of protein, 2 grams of fat. So low protein, low fat. After I finish training though, I get to work, have a shower, get changed about 7:30. That's the time that I'd be aiming more for a smoothie or something like that. Shelley's laughing at me because
it's actually a ham and cheese.
Sometimes it's a
toasted sandwich. Because she makes me one at the same time.
That's what we're looking for.
It's delicious.
I'm getting 23 grams of carbs, 43 grams of protein, and 16 grams of fat post-workout. So there's a real difference pre and post between the macros of it. The other thing we want to consider, and this is geared mainly towards the women, but fellas with wives, girlfriends, mums, daughters, whatever, is really important for them as well. And that's eating and training around our cycle. In phase 1, which is our menstruation period, it's when our estrogen and progesterone are low, and it's when we're likely to be feeling pretty lethargic as well. Energy levels are low. Training might feel a little bit more difficult, and in this week we might feel a little bit hungrier than usual, but in that actual week, that period, it's not going to be drastically different to the other ones. The next phase is when we're in our follicular phase, and that's when our estrogen and progesterone are starting to rise again. And this is when it's the perfect time to push yourself in your strength training. After that is our ovulation, where estrogen is at its highest, and around ovulation, a couple of days before and after, is where we would feel like we have the most energy. This is when hopefully our strength 1 hour every day is full. And it's when you're going to be I'll talk to Thomas next time.
I will throw one thing in there.
Just line them all up, girls.
And it's not spoken about, but actually not doing handstands when you're on the peak of your cycle is a big thing. It's taught in yoga, especially with George. She can sort of work out at the moment. But yeah, it can be quite, pretty unhealthy to do.
And then phase 4 is our luteal phase, which is the week before our period, which we are all feeling like trash. In this phase, you're way hungrier than normal, and this is the phase that a lot of women struggle with, particularly when we're going into a diet. You do so well for that 3 weeks, you get to that 1 week, and you're just like, I am so hungry. And it's where all of our cravings come from. But the really interesting thing behind it is that there is actually some logic and some science. So during that week when our body's preparing for menstruation, we actually burn, on average, just keeping ourselves alive, 300 calories per day more during that phase.
Our watches do not read that.
My maintenance calories is 1,800 calories. So I am so hungry. Eat some more. Like it's that time of the month where it's absolutely okay to go over your calories by a little bit because your body needs it to function.
That's when I eat half a block of chocolate.
1,000 calories more because you're 300 calories hungrier.
We're eating, predominantly well through that whole month, but we allow ourselves 4 squares of chocolate every single night. Most people have is that they try and implement changes, and I'm going to pick on you 3 just for a moment. This is where you're like, all right, a whole month, no sugar. Unrealistic, really, for most people. Whereas if you said, you know what, we're just going to try and reduce our sugar a little bit. I'm going to give myself the freedom to have a row, 4 squares every night. You might have found that through that 30 days, you could maintain the whole rest of it because you never feel like you're depriving yourself of anything, which is really important.
You're depriving by just having 1 row.
Yes.
A technique that worked for me years ago when I was eating a pack of biscuits every night. I started doing, I have 1 day on, 1 day off. So I started doing eating them, and then I'd take the next day I would not. Then I could look forward to the next day.
That's right, because
and
on the day
split it into 2 days.
on the day that you're not having like, oh, you know what?
Just
kinda
tomorrow,
sucks.
tomorrow.
I really want some biscuits.
Gonna get some
today.
tomorrow.
In 18 hours time, I can have
17 hours, 59 minutes, 59 seconds.
So why does any of this matter? Well, our menstrual cycle and our menstrual health is super important to our overall health. And food plays a really important role in keeping our cycle healthy. Now, undereating or overtraining is one of the most common causes of menstruation loss, which can be really, really problematic for a lot of women. Typically, it happens when we reach a really low body fat percentage, but that's not a rule. Like, it can happen at any time in life. You've got a lot of stress in your life. You're reducing your calories. You had a massive change in your diet. It's when we could lose that period altogether. And the reason that happens is because when your body is in a state of stress or you're under-eating, it says that any unnecessary or any non-life providing functions that your body does, not necessary. So it'll just say, I need all of the calories that you're giving me right now to keep you alive. There's no possible way that I can even think about helping you grow a baby, your own life. So it just says, nah, this month, not happening. Which obviously causes a lot of can affect people who are trying to conceive. But long term, not having a period can increase our cholesterol, it decreases bone density, so the risk of having broken bones decreases over your life. Low estrogen levels, because we're not having that cycle, causes our skin to lose its flexibility, so we look way older than we actually are. So yeah, really important that we're checking in on our menstrual health. And if you have these problems, like go and talk to a GP or go see a dietitian, and they can help you work out.
I'm gonna add, no, like perfectly, all women should not have any PMS, cravings, anything during a cycle. You shouldn't even notice that your cycle is coming.
Yeah.
So if you're having cravings, like emotional up and downs, breakouts, sore boobs, that's actually not normal.
Yeah.
So it's probably something to look into. You should probably not even notice and be like, oh, I have my period.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Quickly touching on hydration. We all know that we need to drink more water. It's not that hard. So many benefits to drinking water, and then these are just some of the things that dehydration is. And particularly for athletes like us, being dehydrated by people too much sleep can have a really dramatic impact on the way we feel and perform in the gym. So our target for men, just the average man, is 6 water bottles a day. So Shelley, water bottles. Yours is a relatively big one, but it's about 600 ml water bottles a day, and for women it's 5. Like it's not really that. The final thing I think that I want to touch on are supplements. So Shez mentioned before, really struggling to get that protein goal, and that is where these supplements can help us out in achieving those goals. But really, we always want to think of a food-first approach. So supplements are, as the name describes, to supplement what you're eating. They should never be used as your primary source of any of our macronutrients. So they're typically used under medical supervision, so a doctor or a dietitian, to treat nutritional deficiencies, iron or vitamin D, or when it's just impossible, which I don't think it's impossible for anyone, but it's really hard to reach your nutritional goals just through whole food. So the benefits of eating whole foods compared to going for a supplement is that we have the benefit of feeling full and satisfied. Instead of taking a greens meal, you're actually eating a whole plate of greens. Feel full, a lot more added benefits than just taking a supplement. You get to enjoy the taste and the smell of the food, you receive more than one single nutrient in what you're eating, and eating whole foods is cheaper than buying supplements. With that being said, there are 2 that we recommend. So creatine monohydrate is one of them, and then a protein powder. But like anything, we want to be really careful in the ones that we choose. So creatine is one of the most researched supplements on the market, and is really beneficial to everyday life, but particularly performance athletes like ourselves. So we make about 2 to 3 grams of creatine per day from what we eat. So main sources are red meat, seafood. Some people, vegetarians or vegans, might find that they're lacking creatine a little bit, but it's nothing to be too concerned about. It assists in the production of energy for high-intensity exercise, improvements in strength and power output. It has some anti-inflammatory effects as well, and it can improve our hydration through an increase in muscle water storage. When to take it? Every day, any time of the day, it doesn't really matter. There has been some new research that has showed that half an hour before training has been slightly more beneficial, and slightly is a 2% improvement in your output, so negligible really. And you can take the protein for better absorption. The next thing, mentions some protein, but so we should be aiming to achieve our daily protein goals with food first and resorting to protein powder as a last resort. What to look for in a protein powder? So Peggy mentioned it before with all of our foods, the less ingredients the better, and the same goes with supplements. So we're looking for something with not too many ingredients. We're trying to get 20 to 30 grams of protein per serve of your protein powder. So some of them you'll find, and protein bars are a prime example of this. High protein, blah blah blah, and they give you 5 to 10 grams of protein per serve. It's not worth it. You probably get the same from just a regular muesli bar. It's just all a marketing point. We want to make sure that our leucine content is between 2 to 3 grams as well per serve for maximum muscle growth stimulation, and check that it contains all essential amino acids. So 9 essential amino acids is what we're looking for in protein. And then the last thing is just to check if it has stimulants, which isn't good or bad, but typically if you're an afternoon trainer and you're doing a 4:30 class, finishing at 5:30, smacking down a protein shake, if it contains caffeine, it's probably too late in the day to be having any kind of stimulant, and it will have negative impacts on your sleep as well, which we definitely don't want. That's me done. Any other questions?
No, that was great. Thank you, Claire.
Alright guys, so we've been at this for a little while now. There's a bunch of information that we've jammed into your head so far. So one, thanks for your patience. And two, in the military sometimes do this thing called test of elementary training. So what I'm going to do is a little pop quiz right now, see how much you retain. And hopefully all this information, these key points here will help you make better choices. So, first things first. Who knows how many kilojoules are in 1 calorie?
6 or something. I actually don't know. That was guess. 4.184.
Yes.
Good memory.
Yeah, I was
Right. So when we go to Macca's and it says this Big Mac has 26,000 kilojoules.
600.
Good example, Jason.
That is 12 days worth of food.
Protein.
Bulking too.
1 gram per what?
4.
1 gram per
Pound of body weight is what we should be trying to
pound.
get.
So 1.
Can't believe you didn't know that, Tom.
10 pounds.
Someone's running water out of 3 macros.
Protein.
Protein, carb.
Protein, fat, carbs,
Creatine.
and creatine.
I love creatine.
Protein, carbs, fat. TDEE, what does it stand for?
Total
Daily energy expenditure.
Expenditure.
Yeah, sweet. Victoria's answer. I'm not going to write one out. Total daily energy expenditure. And the last one, we haven't even discussed this. This is more of a grab in the dark. Who knows what percentage we should get of each of these based on just a general?
80, 20, 20? No, wait.
40, 30, 30. I also eat a surplus.
Someone who isn't a level 1 trainer just say the right answer.
You might as well just write it
You
up.
guys should know this because you've done it.
Yeah.
I don't think
Surely it's on my fitness pal.
30% protein.
I think that's what it starts you off at.
Yeah, like I said, that's specific to the CrossFit recommendation. This can be tweaked up and down depending on what diet plan you're following, but generally speaking, that's what we're at. Cool. Great work. All right. So, we've just covered a whole bunch of info, and after any seminar that I've ever been to, you're like, right, tell me what it is and how to do it. Sorry, all this other stuff, but how do I do it? So that's what I'm going to cover now. So we're going to talk about choosing an approach, cleaning up our household, etc., and getting ready to take on some changes in our nutrition. We're going to talk about meal plan shopping lists, how to prepare, and how to factor in the family. So that's usually a big roadblock for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's how to make this work for your family. Okay? And as the saying goes by Benjamin Franklin, if you fail to plan, you're going to fail. Okay? And it's a good one because, as we all know, if we don't have a plan going into something, the chances of success dramatically reduce. Alright, so choosing an approach. I have summarised this into 3 levels. Okay? This isn't gospel. This is just something that I have come up with as a way to help you decide on how you're going to do this. Now, when you choose your approach, there's a bunch of factors that you need to consider. Where are you in your health and fitness journey? Alright, so if you're just starting out, I definitely don't recommend that you take on level 3 and dive straight into the zone diet. I just don't recommend it. However, if you're performing at a high level and you're an athlete and you really want to make some specific changes, then maybe level 3 is something. Right? Typically, if you're a high level athlete as well, your levels of discipline are going to be a lot better. Okay? That's going to lend itself to your success. What are your goals? Right? If you're just looking to get a little bit healthier, level 1 might be fine. Like I said, if you're a high level athlete and you want to shave 2 seconds of 100-metre sprint time, level 3 is going to be good. Okay? Our discipline day. This is where we've got to be a little bit real with ourselves. Our discipline day. Do you suck at self-control? Do you have another rule? And that's something you have to ask yourself and be real with yourself about.
What if you have one person in your household that's very, very, very disciplined and one person that has no self-control?
Which one
do you think?
I'm very disciplined at having no self-control.
Exactly.
This will come up as we go through.
Okay, good.
The number one thing there is communication. Alright, so if you guys have both communicated with each other and have laid out what goals you're after, you can help each other stay on track. And as well as that, if you've told someone that this is your goal, and then they see you in the pantry at 9 o'clock every night, like sneaking, you're going to feel a whole lot guiltier. Yep.
What if you're scared to stay in?
Get real here. What experiences have you had in the past? So, how many people have failed dismally at a diet plan?
Well, 16 in the past, Jason.
So just that alone is going to have a dramatic effect on your mindset going, alright? I know for a fact that anytime I think about nutrition, I'm like, I've sucked at this so many times before that I just don't even want to try it. And that's a real problem, okay? So sometimes part of your preparation is sitting down with yourself and just getting yourself primed, setting yourself expectations. And my biggest advice is just be kind to yourself. Alright, 80-20 rule, just go easy. You don't have to be militant against
Did you
yourself.
start off with like 60-40 and
You can. Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to talk about it in level 1. Level 1, the easiest level, we'll talk about that and what's required there. And what level of time and commitment do you have? Some people have oodles of time, they can spend all of Sunday meal prepping, they can have 14 days of meals in boxes ready to go, and other people can't. It's just a fact of life. Not everyone has the same level of time or commitment to doing that stuff. And so we're going to talk about how to leverage technology and things like that to help you. So choosing an approach. First up, we've got level 1. Now I'm going to be bold and say that 90% of people, if they just did level 1, they would make or they would see dramatic results. And what level 1 entails is just plain eating. Okay, so we've just been mindful about our food choices, making sure we choose a clean option wherever possible. We're eliminating processed foods, so as Peggy said, we're going from this end of the spectrum 90% of the time to this end of the spectrum 90% of the time. Okay, or 80-20, whatever you want to work on. We're reducing our sugar intake. Okay, We are setting a consistent eating routine. This one's quite important. We'll come back to that in a second. We're opting for healthier choices whenever we can. Snacks, meals, etc. We're optimising meal timings, and we're probably implementing replacement therapy for some of those shitty habits that we have. So, as Becky mentioned, instead of like milk chocolate, dark chocolate. We tend to eat less dark chocolate. It's not as sweet. And dark chocolate is a good replacement for that. Usually less calories as well. So things like that, we're replacing bad habits. We're not just going cold turkey, because we all know that cold turkey for a lot of people means that we're not going to succeed. Right? Now, as I said, setting a consistent eating routine. In level 1, we want to set a consistent eating routine, and typically we want to track it. Okay, we'll talk about it. Actually, I'll write them up. So we've got MyFitnessPal. And another one, just Carbon. These are just 2 apps that you can use to just track your food. Now, just bear in mind, at this point in time, we're not trying to make any drastic changes. We're just tracking. So unless we track things, we don't know where we need to make changes. All right. So this is part of just laying out what you're currently doing in front of you. So that when you progress to level 2, you know where those changes are going to come from. Okay? The only real physical changes that we're doing here is just changing the foods that we're eating. We're not even looking at calories just yet. We want to be mindful, and in the process of setting a routine and using apps like this to just monitor what we're doing, we're going to start gaining a really good understanding of how many calories we're actually consuming. Okay? Which is really important when we go to level 2. Great questions on level 1.
One thing that I've sort of realised, like I was quite a disciplined eater before I started the gym, so I didn't really eat a lot of food.
Yeah.
But then I found it hard when I started going to the gym because I was craving more food. I didn't take enough food at work, therefore I'm like, oh, I need to go get a burger because I'm starving. So like it actually kind of going to the gym almost impacted my eating habit. Negatively. Until I okay, I need to take 2 lots of tuna and whatever I eat.
Yeah, absolutely. And another factor in that is when people start going to the gym, they sort of realise that they've created a little bit more of a buffer there for how much they can eat. So doing things like that is almost guilt-free at the time.
You're like, oh, that's all right, I went to the gym this morning.
So in level 1, the main thing we're trying to do there is just create awareness. So when you do that, track it, log it, so that when you go and make those little bit more discipline changes, you know what effect those habits are having on the overall plan. Be aware of it. So level 1, it's all about awareness and education. We're just trying to get our heads in the right space, learn about ourselves, our habits, our routines, and then attach the calorie value to all of those decisions as well. At this point in time, though, like I said, we're not really trying to sort of change our calorie intake just yet, but just taking on clean eating for most people means they're going to struggle to eat the same amount of calories that they normally would if they're eating McDonald's and things like that, processed foods. You can eat a huge amount of calories in a KFC meal, but if you try to eat the equivalent with clean eating, you're going to struggle with it. So just making that one step is going to be almost immediate success for a lot of people. Level 2. So this is where we get our scales. Like I said, we've tracked our food, we've monitored our habits. We're going to implement everything we did in level 1. And all we're going to do is go up and we're going to start measuring our food and setting ourselves a calorie target. So this is where we go to the website that's on, recommended. We find out our total daily energy expenditure, okay? And we set ourselves a target based on results. Alright, so typically the TDEE minus 500 calories or so is going to give you weight loss, plus 500 calories or so is going to give you gain or muscle gain. So that's where we want to set that goal. And then we just start measuring and monitoring our calorie intake. Okay, so whether it's just by tracking it in the app or whether we start measuring our meals and stuff like that, we want to measure and monitor it. And at this point in time, it's usually very beneficial to have a meal plan. And obviously there's a shopping list that goes with the meal plan. Okay, so you can stay on track and you're not cuffing it every day, just hoping that you fall in under your calorie limit. You've actually got a plan set in place. Alright, so like I said, this step up every step up that we take requires just that little bit more added discipline and preparation. Okay, so be real with yourself about what level you want to start at. Level 3 is where we go the whole hog. We're doing everything we do at level 1 and 2, and perhaps we start doing things like modifying our macro intake based on our goals. Okay. We're measuring and weighing our macros specifically, because we really want to try and hit these targets here. Or modified versions of these based on what we're trying to achieve. And depending on how hard you want to go, you might also be looking at completely eliminating sugar, dairy, gluten, etc. How many people here have ever done an elimination diet? Yeah. What was the main thing eliminating sugar?
Dairy.
Dairy. Yeah. Dairy is a really good one because most people have a level of dairy intolerance that they don't even realise they've got. We did paleo challenges back in the day, and sugar and dairy get eliminated. And then the whole idea is that once you've eliminated it for a certain period of time, you slowly reintroduce it back. And what you're trying to do there is just give yourself an awareness of what those types of foods are doing to your body. And I realised pretty quickly that morning cappuccinos were not great for me. They wreaked havoc on me. In many ways.
Havoc on
a lot of people don't realise that. We won't
Have it on the
know any of this stuff until you cover it. Okay, so at level 3, we're assuming that we're very disciplined, we've got a great routine in place, and we can make these changes without potentially knocking ourselves off the way completely.
They lasted pretty well.
Alright, so cleaning and gearing up. So these are just 4 tips. So like I said, practical implementation. So cleaning out and gearing up involves cleaning out pantry, getting rid of everything. Alright, so those packets of chips, extras that you've got in the top, don't eat them. Get rid of them. Alright, throw them in the bin. Don't even worry about wasting.
Bring them here, I'll dispose them.
Zach and I will help happily.
So a lot of the staples that we have in our cupboard, so like our wheels and stuff like that, get rid of them and replace them with the healthy ones. Okay. That way you're already ahead. So when you go grab cooking oil, you're not grabbing the wrong type of cooking oil, so to reintroduce all of these things we don't want in our diet, these extra calories that we haven't factored in, and we go to the healthy. Stock up on nutrient-dense staples and fruit spices, sort of the same thing as the oils. You're just replacing all of the staples in your cupboard with the more nutrient-dense option. Okay, so at any time we're in the cupboard and we're using those staples, we're making the healthful option by default. Stock up the spice rack. This is particularly important, right? Especially for people who are using processed foods. They have huge amounts of flavour. Okay, the only way you get those flavour, that level of flavour with eating diet is to get creative and get well equipped with your spice rack. Okay, to introduce those types of spices to your foods, create the will to eat that food. Right? You've got to become a good cook, basically. Buy a set of snacks. And decide on a calorie tracking method and source some exciting recipe books. Now, this is really cool because there's hundreds of recipe books out there that are geared towards certain problems in life. So this one here, 15-minute meal, as it says, 15-minute meals. Who would love to be able to just get their cooking done in 15 minutes?
I feel like it's really through
Time pool.
like your ability to do.
I'm going to put my hand up first. Who would like to?
Slap chop.
And this comes into the preparation side of things. So, who has one of those fancy slicing machines?
I do, but I've slept on that a few times on that too.
One of the steps that you take in the whole preparation phase, maybe you go out and spend $70 and get a good slice, so that when you need to cut a carrot up into a specific size, you're ready to go. Or you can bulk produce. Get a food processor. I got a food processor once. Never gets used. But having one of those might be helpful. So all these little tips. And then the other thing is you don't have to have 1,000 ingredients in a recipe. This one here is geared towards 6 ingredients. Now, caveat, 6 ingredients includes 6 main ingredients, and then they factor in the staples as extra. Okay, so it's not really 6 ingredients, it's 6 main ingredients.
That's how HelloFresh works. It's very simple. HelloFresh is very similar concept.
Yeah, so they give you like the basic stuff. And
Yeah, and you're still gonna have pantry items. Yeah.
Who wants this?
Man, what another family? Oh, okay.
All right.
It's not yours.
Meal planning.
Zach really wants one ingredient. Broccoli.
Yes. Benjamin Yum. Yes.
That you want to go ahead and make these changes. Typically speaking, you got to try and follow it. There's many ways to get a meal plan. There's pre-ordered meal services, so they can do a meal plan out for you. You choose what sort of menu you want, what food items you want to eat, etc., and they send you food. So things like HelloFresh, MasterChef's great because the meals are cooked, you've got to cook lunch, but they're expensive. So that's a factor as well. So you just got to choose the right one to fit your needs. Nutritionists, you can go to a nutritionist, they can give you very, very detailed advice based on your very, very specific goals. Okay? And usually they'll have some method of keeping you accountable as well. Websites. So all sorts of websites that can provide you with meal plans. Usually, like I said, they have some kind of community that you go into, you slide into to help keep you accountable. Gyms, bring one. PTs, you're surrounded by coaches. Use food, right? Nutrition groups, like I said, usually Facebook based. Just a good way, if you get into a group, it's based on nutrition. Those notifications are coming up on your phone frequently. You're constantly being reminded about certain aspects of nutrition. And it's a good way to just keep yourself accountable, keep yourself on track, and keep yourself thinking about making the right choices. Too often we sort of start into something with full gusto and go, and then 2 weeks later, if we don't have that sort of constant reminder or accountability, we just sort of like, just slide away, and it doesn't matter. If we've got accountability going on, it's a different story. One tip, don't rely on your best friends for accountability.
I feel like we're being targeted.
We shouldn't have said anything.
You know, you can
Shopping list. In here, there's a shopping list, and it's obviously attached to the meal plan. And when you first open it, sometimes you see the amount of ingredients, and you're like, holy shit balls. My shopping is going to go through the roof with the price, and it's going to take me about 6 hours. Especially if you go shopping like me, and you can zigzag through the shops and you can't figure out what it is. Alrighty? My best advice is don't panic, because by the time you take out all the staples and the things that you've already got, usually what's left is just your meat and vegetables and some other items. And so your shopping list becomes wholly less daunting, okay? So don't panic there. Use online shopping services. So we all know that Woolworths and Coles allow you to go in and put a shopping list in and save it. So use that feature. Me and Emma did a meal plan at home last year, and we just had it set out in the Woolworths online shopping. And the only thing we had to do each week when we did our shopping is just go to the fridge and the pantry and just see what we had left. Alright, we didn't want to be buying excess, so we just go through and on the laptop just delete those items and send our shopping through and pick it up the next day. It's a really easy way. It takes a little bit of time to set it up, but once it's set up, you're good to go.
Game changer, you'll save money doing it. You'll save so much money because you just don't buy impulse.
Yeah.
I literally just did my first minute shopping right now.
Right.
I did it on my fridge. It's like I was talking about it, I'll order it.
So use those. Technology, we may as well leverage it. And if you want good quality and a cheap price, go to your local restaurant or fruit and veg shop. And Lockie posted a good link in the group for the week. There is pre-made sort of boxes of fruit and veg, which are usually sourced from local farms, super high quality at a very, very reasonable price. So you get the advantage of being really fresh, convenient, and you're supporting local farmers. Preparation, okay? This is key. Like I said, if we fail, prepare, we prepare to fail. Alrighty? Be prepared for a very steep learning curve. Alright, it's going to feel super overwhelming. But as you go through, you acquire that knowledge, and suddenly things just become normal. Right? So your new way of life, when you first step into it, is going to be a little bit crazy, but after a while, it just becomes normal. Okay, and we even know that about it. When you start CrossFit, the learning curve is steep. Before you know it, it's normal. You come in, you no longer doing all these crazy things that you have to do. It's just the way of life. Have tactics in place to curb the cravings. We know they're going to happen. You know you're going to slip. You know you're going to make bad choices or have the opportunity to make bad choices. So plan ahead. Get a notepad out and literally write down what you're going to do when you want to crave or when you have a craving. Okay? Allocate days to carry out your meal prep and your nutrition plan each week. Okay, so this is where it comes down to being real about what this is going to take. You have to set some time aside. Right? This isn't going to happen by itself. You have to invest some time into making this happen. We did this recently, invested in a pantry overhaul. You can go on Amazon and buy a complete set of like containers and stuff you covered. Spice racks, all comes in a kit. Just clean it out, get it organised. It's the best thing you ever do. I've never been so excited about cleaning. I'm all about order. Every other person in my house.
Speaking of order, totally, it's relevant but not relevant. So I had Luke, my stepson, tell me that he went to his mother's and in the holidays reorganised her cupboards because they were so messy, and I've taught him how to be tidy in his cupboards. That's a big win. And he teaches jazz. It's a big win.
And usually when you go into a nutrition plan, it's going to involve you carrying meals around to work or whatever. So just make sure you're equipped and ready to go. Who gets excited every time they go into a new venture to go out and do the shopping and buy all this stuff?
Yeah. If someone else would fund it, yeah, then I get really excited. Like when it's my own money, I'm like,
Special offers on Tupperware.
So if they do, get excited, right? Go out, buy all the stuff, get yourself excited, set some time, plan, and go into it. Like I said, with a level of excitement that's going to carry you through at least the first part, the hard part. Okay? Now, whose family is a road warrior? Yeah. Yep.
yeah, actually.
Yes.
One family.
It's just a hard truth.
Paid
Your
in
family
I'll make that bet.
or your household or your living situation is probably going to be the biggest roadblock you face when you take on any progress. Okay, so it's really important when you start into something like this, you sit down with your partner, your significant other, whatever, your kids, depending on what age they are, and you communicate with them. Right? You tell them what your goals are, you tell them what's going to be required, you tell them what sort of changes are going to happen, just so they know. Whether they're in it with you or not is sort of irrelevant at this point, but if we communicate this stuff, then it's going to be a whole lot easier for them to adapt because they know why. Right? Whether they choose to jump on with you or not, okay? With kids, get creative and find fun adaptations and kids that feel catered for. So quite often, the meals that you're eating aren't going to appeal to kids. Okay, so there's ways you can make it creative, right? So even if you plate the meal up differently, things like that. Don't just throw a salad straight in front of them. Make your kid part of it broken down so they can eat the carrots and the lettuce separately, or whatever. Whatever works for you. Another really good thing for kids is if they're involved in the process, they're usually going to be a whole lot more interested as well. So if they cut up that carrot, they're usually a whole lot more willing to eat the carrot, okay? Rather than just get a plate of food thrown in front of them and tell them to eat. They're invested, they're part of the process, and it can actually be a whole lot of fun. Sort of the same thing, slightly modified versions of the meals for your kids. And you're either going to communicate your goals with your friends and family. Okay, so they know what's happening and they know that when you come to the barbecue on Sunday, you're not going to eat the cheesecake or the pavlova or the cob loaf or all of it, and then you're going to abstain a little bit. Or have a plan in place already. This comes down to that time you're going to take it from there and get your head straight. Have a plan so that you don't fall into those traps when you go to the pub on a Friday after the gym or to the family function or whatever. Okay, so
Don't share our secrets.
Don't pop shit.
Yeah. Pop shame.
What kind of tips would you have, like specific tips, for someone that is somewhere in between, like level 1, level 2, and level 3, but has very, very minimal self-control?
Self-control.
Yeah.
Like I said,
Handcuffs and a muzzle.
take away as many temptations as you can.
Yeah.
What sort of
Because I'm like at the point now where if I come in here for a 4:30 or 5:30 and I've done really well throughout the day, like I've got my meal plan, calorie control, all the rest of it, I have to leave my debit card with my husband not to buy something on the way home.
Do you feel like it's because you're depriving yourself throughout the day? Like are you eating nothing that brings you joy?
I don't think that's the case.
Energy that you're burning?
Maybe. I just have very little self-control, and I drive past, like... Don't drive that way.
To get home. Well, you bring something with you to the gym.
Yeah.
Like bring something. We don't mind if you stick it in the fridge.
Yeah.
Like if it's a smoothie or something that
Yeah.
you can just
Yeah,
you
so
have
eat
it,
straight
walk
after.
out the gym, have it in your hand,
bring
and then like,
something
I don't
with you.
need to stop for anything
Yeah.
because I've already got it with
Then
me.
you got something
Yeah.
to
Or
eat.
even like a
Smells like-
protein shake or something. Claire has a really good one. It's like that she got me onto. It's a juice one.
Okay.
So it's sweet, and they have it straight after the gym.
Yeah.
And it's very, very sweet. But it feels like
It's not like milk.
you're drinking
Yeah.
a lot of liquid as well. It fills you up.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
You can still go home and eat.
You can buy 15 fit aids.
Exactly what happens.
That's my tip.
So I was going to say support and accountability.
Yeah.
So already you've got support because your partner's willing to go, give me your debit card.
Yeah.
Accountability,
Good.
just letting know whether you grab something
Yeah.
at home so you can roast you. Support as well. So support can be found at home, or as you've just seen within this group here, can be found here. So questions like that can be put into the CrossFit Confront group, and straight away you're going to get like 3 answers straight up, which is very
No,
good.
what it helped to me was knowledge, to learn, for example, that McDonald's that you like, I learned what are the ingredients in that burger and where it comes from. So it's like, oh no, I want to do that.
motivating, not to-
So I learned a lot about how to read ingredients. So I know, I'm conscious that Coca-Cola is not good, that those fries are not good, or these things are good. So, you know, so if you're like, if you have that knowledge, I don't know, it helped me, but I don't want to.
Not so much pain, I still don't get it. But I don't think I'm conscious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had my kind of way to do it is goal setting. Is like, so I kind of think about my goal for next year. Don't know if I'm going to anywhere close, but I really want to make it to quarterfinals in the Open. So like my sickness, wellness, fitness is kind of sickness, wellness, quarterfinals continuum. So
That's good.
Anytime I am doing
That is
something
so
about
good.
like I'm going to eat something, I'm thinking, is it pushing me towards quarterfinals or the other way? And that's kind of
Wow, that's good.
like, not obviously it doesn't mean that I'm not the most disciplined person in the entire world, but most things I'm doing, I'm kind of thinking about my major goal I have. Is it pushing me towards that or away from that? And that's just kind of.
Some great tips there. Replacement therapy.
Yeah, I like what Claire said. Did you say have a meal prepared for after?
Yeah, have something ready to go.
I think, yeah.
But at the
And
same
in your hand, so you're like,
At the
Yeah,
same
because like
time,
I've got meal prep at home.
They
There's plenty of meat, like we meal prep on a Sunday for the week.
If you're feeling like it, tell somebody before you walk out the door.
Yeah.
Because if I say,
Yeah.
somebody to go like, oh, I feel like this, and then you have that conversation, and you're like, oh well, I got that off my chest. That's okay.
there are more, aren't there? There are more, aren't there, Jason?
One comment as well, like, it sounds really harsh, but we are adults, and like, no, I know, but like, it's not hard to just one day go, you know, like on your way home, go, you know what, today I'm not going to do it, and then the next day you're like, wow, I actually didn't die. I'm going to try and make it 2 days without doing it, and then at the end you're like, holy hell, I've gone a whole fortnight without, you know, having to get anything on the way home, and then you're like, what a waste of money that was.
You could maybe link it to money. That would work probably
Yeah,
better for me.
yeah.
Is be like every afternoon when I do it, it's $15 that I'm, that's $70 a week or whatever.
That's a
spend it on
really
something
Christmas
fun.
present that I can buy kids at the end of the week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any other questions?
One thing
I like the adult things. It's like fucking pull your head in. I do it to myself. I do it to myself all the time. Call myself out.
When you walk up certain aisles in the supermarket and you're seeing all this stuff, and like especially the lolly and the chip aisle and all that sort of stuff, it's like it is, the temptation is there to buy. So what I actually used to do is just some aisles in the supermarket I wouldn't even walk up.
I usually get myself a snack.
Because at the end of the day, like, if you don't buy it, then you haven't got it at home, and there's like the temptation isn't like it's not there. You sort of, but it can like obviously comes back to self-control and stuff as well. So, but yeah, that's just my little waste of it. There'd be some aisles I just wouldn't walk in. So
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
So guys,
Shop around the outside.
Stay Burnleys for me.
Stick to the outside.
If you have any other questions, feel free to ask us at any time. But I strongly recommend, these questions are going to come up all the time. And as we said, CrossFit isn't just a strength and conditioning program, it's a nutrition strength and conditioning program. So in our group, at any time, you can always post a question or a resource or something like that in the group, because I can guarantee you, if you're thinking it, so is 80% of it.
Absolutely.
Because we all struggle from the same stuff. We're all part of the same society, we're all having the same shit jammed in our face all the time, okay? So if you ever need clarification, support, accountability, put it in the group, and I guarantee you get it, right? Leverage this awesome community we've got in the gym for your own gain, right? That's what we're here for. The other thing as well is I've laid out 3 levels here, okay? And if you've decided, so typically when we do a seminar like this, we will roll into a diet challenge, but we're not this time. But if you've decided you want to go ahead and start doing one of these approaches, hit us up. We have all the resources you need. As I said, I've just handed out 5 of them, but you'll all get the ebook as well. The 28-day clean eating guide from Confront. We can also hook you up with like resources about the zone diet, which is CrossFit's prescription for sort of level 3, where you really start measuring. So there's many levels that we can go for here, and if you want to get started, we've got the resources, the knowledge, and the people to help you with that. Okay. So, I hope you guys got a lot out of this. I wanted to keep today very simple. Alright, there's so much information out there. There's so many different approaches to dieting. There's keto, there's high-fat diet, all kinds of stuff. If you get wrapped around the axles in it, you just won't achieve anything. It's sort of like training programs. There's a million training programs out there. You just got to find one that works, find one that's brutally simple, and just stick to it. That's your best way to achieve stuff. Okay? So, from me, sorry, Zach.
No, you finish.
From me, I just want to have a round of applause for the coaching team here, because I think they did a freaking awesome job at delivering the content today. I hope you guys got a lot of it. And we're going to pack up, we're finished, but like I said, we're always here for your health. Zach's got something to say.
Question of the day before we pack up is, what is one key takeaway from this morning? And we're going to go around the room. Emma.
I'll start. It is planning. So taking the time to plan, because I know sitting down and doing the grocery list and writing the meal plan absolutely changes what I eat for the week.
Yeah, for sure. You? Key takeaway?
Just
Just do it.
don't rely on your best friends to be accountable. I tried with you as well, but then I still didn't tell you.
I feel like there's a common denominator. It's not your friends.
Gibbo? Planning?
Mine's awareness.
Awareness, absolutely, and education. Planning, yep. Brenton?
Yeah, just I think everything in moderation. Like, one thing I used to do too is I'd pick one thing out for a week that was like maybe like a little treat or something like that. So like you still sort of like you're not like you've got that one thing that you can sort of look forward to, but once you've had it, you sort of like you've had it, like that's enough. Like kind of thing. So yeah, that's what it is.
Probably that everyone's at a different stage and you've got to approach people where they're at.
Yep, you got to meet yourself where you're at in your own journey.
Yeah.
to take support from you guys here as well instead of just giving my card to my husband. Yeah.
Just a general good refresh, like a good snap back.
Probably using the support around you and accountability.
Yeah, same support and that refresh.
80-20.
80-20, absolutely.
Probably just start tracking because you might think you're hitting like your protein when you're not.
Then you might get way stronger than me, Claudia, and know
Like I mentioned in day one, it's just about starting to sort of have a look at this stuff and just seeing where your numbers are. You're not tied to any sort of specific meal plan yet, but you're just sort of getting that awareness of what everything is, how much it's worth in calories, etc. How much blowing out your calorie or your recommended calorie intake, things like that. So,
might need to know.
Probably awareness there.
yeah.
I have to stop making excuses and be disciplined.
Be excited about that.
Support and the whole food changes will get you a little bit there.
Absolutely. In fact, just changing from processed to clean food, it'll almost get you there anyway. Absolutely. Yep. Cool. Please.
And also that it's doing that, like making you can like start doing it. Like it seems daunting, but like all of us, like we all have the community, we have support, we have planning, we have all that sort of stuff. That like doing it, we can do it, we can achieve.
And perfect time to do it. We're about to all get shredded.
Thank you all for coming, guys. Thank you.
Well, that was
Yes.
that was good, Jason. You hit that out of the park with everything.
Yeah.
About half an hour or an hour before you do it.
You smash it.
Good job. Whether that makes you feel like